Marcus Chen pushed his cleaning cart down the long hallway of the Grand Metropolitan Hotel. The wheels squeaked softly on the marble floor. It was Friday evening, and he knew what that meant. Another fancy party in the grand ballroom. Another night of rich people in expensive clothes who never looked at him twice. He was 42 years old and had been cleaning this hotel for 15 years. Every day was the same. Wake up at 5 in the morning, make breakfast for his mother and his sister, take 2 buses to get to work, clean rooms, empty trash cans, polish floors, then take 2 buses home, make dinner, help his sister with her exercises, go to sleep, wake up and do it all again. Marcus stopped outside the ballroom doors. He could hear workers inside setting up tables and chairs. The party would start in 2 hours. He needed to clean the ballroom before the guests arrived. He pushed open the heavy doors and stepped inside. The ballroom was beautiful. Crystal chandeliers hung from the high ceiling. Large windows showed the city lights outside. Round tables covered with white cloths filled the room. But Marcus only looked at one thing. In the corner of the room sat a grand piano. It was black and shiny, the most beautiful piano Marcus had ever seen. He walked slowly toward it. His heart beat faster. He had not been this close to a piano in 20 years. 20 long years. His hands wanted to touch the keys. His fingers remembered how they used to move across black and white keys, making music that filled rooms with beauty. But that was a long time ago. That was before everything changed. That was when he was a different person with different dreams. Marcus was born in a small apartment in the poor part of the city. His parents had come from China with nothing. They worked hard. His father drove a taxi. His mother cleaned houses. They did not have much money, but they had love. And they had music. When Marcus was 5 years old, his mother took him to a community center. An old woman named Mrs. Rodriguez taught piano there. She taught children for free because she believed every child should know music. Marcus sat at the piano for the first time. Mrs. Rodriguez showed him where to put his fingers. He pressed one key. The sound was magic. From that day, Marcus loved the piano more than anything. He went to Mrs. Rodriguez every week. She said he was special. She said he had a gift. When he played, people stopped talking. They stopped moving. They just listened. By the time Marcus was 8 years old, he could play music that made people cry. By 10, he won a competition and got to play with the youth orchestra. By 12, his teachers said he would be famous one day. They said he would play in concert halls around the world. Marcus practiced every day for hours. His fingers flew across the keys. Music poured from his heart through his hands. When he played, he forgot about the small apartment. He forgot about being poor. He forgot about everything except the music. Then, when Marcus was 18 years old, everything fell apart. His father was driving his taxi one rainy night. A drunk driver ran a red light. Marcus's father died instantly. The funeral cost money they did not have. The bills piled up. His mother could not work enough hours to pay for everything. His little sister was only 12 years old. Marcus had a scholarship to study music at the community college. His teachers begged him not to quit. They said he was too talented to stop. But bills do not pay themselves. Food costs money. Rent costs money. His family needed him. So Marcus quit school. He got a job at a factory. He worked 10 hours a day lifting heavy boxes. At night, his hands hurt too much to play piano. On weekends, he worked a second job. There was no time for music. There was only time for survival. 2 years later, his sister got sick. The doctors said she had a disease in her muscles. She needed a wheelchair. She needed special medicine. The medicine cost $500 every month. Insurance would not pay for it. Marcus owned one valuable thing, a keyboard piano his father had bought him for his 16th birthday. His father had saved money for 2 years to buy it. It was not a real piano, but Marcus loved it. He played it every night before bed. It was his connection to his dreams. He sold it. He got $800. He bought his sister's wheelchair and the first 2 months of medicine. When he came home without the keyboard, his sister cried. She knew what he had given up, but Marcus smiled and told her it was okay. Family was more important than music. Family was more important than dreams. That was 20 years ago. Marcus had not touched a piano since that day. He could not. It hurt too much. It reminded him of everything he lost. So he cleaned hotel rooms instead. He mopped floors. He emptied trash. He became invisible. Now Marcus stood in the grand ballroom staring at the beautiful piano. Slowly, he reached out and touched the smooth black surface. It was cool under his fingers. He pulled his hand back quickly, like the piano might burn him. "Stop standing around," a voice shouted. Marcus turned. His supervisor, Mr. Patterson, stood in the doorway. "The guests arrive in 90 minutes. This room needs to be perfect. Get to work." "Yes, sir," Marcus said quietly. He got his cleaning supplies and started working. He wiped down tables. He straightened chairs. He made sure every glass sparkled. But his eyes kept going back to the piano. An hour later, people began arriving. Marcus had finished cleaning, but Mr. Patterson told him to stay. "We need extra staff tonight," he said. "Put on a server uniform. You will help bring drinks to the guests." Marcus changed into the black uniform. It felt strange. Usually he wore his janitor clothes and no one saw him. Now he would walk among the rich people. He felt nervous. The ballroom filled with people in expensive clothes. Women wore long dresses that probably cost more than Marcus made in a month. Men wore suits that looked like they came from fancy stores. Everyone laughed and talked loudly. They drank champagne from tall glasses. They ate small, fancy foods from silver trays. Marcus carried a tray of drinks. He moved quietly between the tables. He tried to be invisible like always. Most people did not look at him. He was just the help, just another worker in a black uniform. Then he saw him. Richard Vandermeer walked into the ballroom like he owned the world. Maybe he did own some of it. Everyone knew who Vandermeer was. He owned half the buildings in the city. His face was on billboards. His name was in the newspapers. He was one of the richest men in the state. Vandermeer was 50 years old with gray hair and an expensive suit. He walked with his chest puffed out. 5 people followed him like baby ducks following their mother. They laughed at his jokes even when the jokes were not funny. They agreed with everything he said. Marcus tried to stay away from Vandermeer's table. But Mr. Patterson pointed at him. "You, take these drinks to Mr. Vandermeer's table." Marcus picked up a tray of champagne glasses. His hands shook a little. He walked carefully to the table. "Your drinks, sir," Marcus said quietly, placing glasses in front of each person. Vandermeer did not look at him. He was talking loudly about money. "I made $3 million today," he said. $3 million, before lunch. That is how you do business." The people at his table clapped. They said he was amazing. They said he was brilliant. Vandermeer smiled like a king. A woman in a red dress stood at the front of the room. She was the organizer of the party. "Thank you all for coming tonight," she said into a microphone. "This charity gala supports music education for poor children. We believe every child deserves to learn music." Vandermeer laughed loudly. Everyone could hear him. "What a waste of money," he said. He did not try to be quiet. "Poor kids learning music? Why? They will never be real musicians. Talent is something you are born with. You cannot teach it, especially not to poor people." Some people at other tables looked uncomfortable, but no one said anything. Vandermeer was too rich, too powerful. No one wanted to make him angry. "Music education takes sophistication," Vandermeer continued. "It takes culture. It takes breeding. These things cannot be taught in some rundown community center. Classical music is for people like us, not for the poor." The woman in the red dress looked upset, but she kept smiling. She talked about how music changed children's lives. She talked about kids who learned discipline and creativity through music. But Vandermeer just rolled his eyes. Marcus stood near the wall holding his empty tray. He felt anger rising in his chest. This rich man knew nothing. He knew nothing about the poor kids who loved music. He knew nothing about Mrs. Rodriguez teaching piano for free. He knew nothing about children practicing on broken keyboards in tiny apartments. He knew nothing about talent that got buried under poverty. The party continued. Marcus brought more drinks. He cleared empty plates. He tried to stay calm. But every time he heard Vandermeer's loud voice, his anger grew. Then it happened. Marcus was carrying a tray of empty glasses past Vandermeer's table. One of Vandermeer's friends leaned back in his chair without looking. His chair hit Marcus's leg. The tray tilted. Glasses slid. One glass fell and broke on the floor with a loud crash. Everyone turned to look. The room got quiet. Marcus's face turned red. "I am so sorry," he said quickly. He bent down to pick up the broken glass. "Careful," Vandermeer said loudly. "The help is breaking things." He laughed. His friends laughed too. "This is exactly what I mean. No class, no grace. These people do not belong around fine things." Marcus said nothing. He picked up the broken glass carefully. His hand shook with anger now, not nervousness. He wanted to say something. He wanted to tell this cruel man how wrong he was. But he needed this job. His mother needed medicine. His sister needed care, so he stayed silent. "Look at him," Vandermeer continued. "Probably never saw a crystal glass before. Probably drinks from plastic cups." More laughter from his table. Other guests looked away, embarrassed. Marcus stood up with the broken glass on his tray. He started to walk away. Then Vandermeer said something that made him stop. "That piano is wasted here," Vandermeer said, pointing at the beautiful piano in the corner. "None of these charity cases could play a single note correctly. I bet even the staff here, these waiters and cleaners, they would not know a C note from a dollar bill." He laughed at his own joke. Marcus stopped walking. He stood very still. His heart pounded in his chest. The piano seemed to glow in the corner. He had not played in 20 years. His fingers were stiff from manual labor. His hands were rough and calloused. He probably could not play anymore. The music was gone, but something inside him stirred. Something old and sleeping. Something that remembered beauty and passion and joy. Something that remembered who he used to be before poverty took everything away. Vandermeer noticed Marcus standing there. "What are you looking at?" he demanded. "Do you have something to say? Do you think you could play that piano?" The room got very quiet. Everyone stared at Marcus. He should walk away. He should go back to being invisible. But his feet would not move. His eyes stayed on the piano. Vandermeer stood up. He was enjoying this. He pulled out his wallet. "I tell you what," he said loudly. "I will pay you $1,000 if you can play even one note on that piano. Go ahead, waiter or janitor or whatever you are. Entertain us. Show us your hidden talent." His friends laughed. Some guests looked away, uncomfortable with the cruelty, but others watched with interest. Would the janitor take the challenge? Would he embarrass himself trying to play? $1,000. Marcus thought about what that money could do. New wheelchair for his sister. Medicine for 3 months. Money for his mother's doctor bills. $1,000 for playing one note. But it was not about the money. Not really. It was about 20 years of silence. 20 years of pretending music did not matter. 20 years of being invisible. 20 years of letting this world tell him he was nothing. Marcus set down his tray carefully. His hands shook. Every eye in the room watched him. He heard someone whisper, "He is actually going to do it." Another voice said, "This will be embarrassing." Marcus walked slowly toward the piano. Each step felt heavy. His heart hammered so hard he thought everyone could hear it. He had not touched piano keys in 20 years. What if his fingers did not remember? What if the music was really gone? What if Vandermeer was right, and he was just a janitor with delusions? He reached the piano. It sat there like a beautiful sleeping giant. Marcus's fingers trembled as he reached for his work gloves. Slowly he pulled them off. His hands looked old and rough. These were not the hands of a musician anymore. These were the hands of a man who cleaned toilets and mopped floors. Behind him, Vandermeer called out, "Any time now! We do not have all night. One note, janitor. Surely even you can manage one note." Laughter rippled through the crowd. But not everyone laughed. Some people watched quietly. In the back of the room, a young woman with kind eyes watched Marcus closely. Her name was Sarah Mitchell, and she was a music teacher. Something about the way Marcus looked at that piano told her this was not a joke. This was something else entirely. Marcus sat down on the piano bench. He adjusted it slightly, moving it to exactly the right height. His hands noticed this automatically. Muscle memory from long ago. He placed his fingers on the keys but did not press down yet. The keys felt cool and smooth. They felt like coming home after a long journey. He closed his eyes. Behind his eyelids, he saw his father's face. He saw his mother's proud smile at his first recital. He saw Mrs. Rodriguez nodding encouragement. He saw his little sister dancing while he played. He saw the person he used to be before the world broke him down. $1,000 for one note. But which note should he play? Middle C would be easy, safe. But Marcus had never played safe in his life. Even now, after everything, even dressed in a server uniform with his soul worn down by years of hard labor, even now he was still himself deep inside. The room was absolutely silent. 200 people held their breath. Vandermeer smirked, already counting this as another victory. Already planning how he would tell this story at his next business lunch. The janitor who thought he could play piano. Marcus took a deep breath. His fingers trembled on the keys. Then something inside him broke. Not broke like breaking down. Broke like breaking free. 20 years of silence was enough. 20 years of being invisible was enough. 20 years of letting the world tell him who he was supposed to be was enough. He opened his eyes. His fingers pressed down on the keys, and the first note rang out clear and pure and absolutely perfect, but Marcus did not stop at one note. The first note hung in the air like a bird floating on the wind. Then Marcus played a second note. Then a third. His fingers began to move across the keys. They moved slowly at first, like someone walking after a long sleep. But then they remembered. They remembered everything. Marcus began to play Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major. It was a piece he had learned when he was 16 years old. He had played it at his last competition before his father died. He had won first place. The judges said his performance made them cry. Now his fingers found the notes again. The music flowed from the piano like water from a fountain. Soft and gentle at first, then building, growing, filling the room with something that had been missing, something pure and true and beautiful. Marcus's eyes stayed closed. He did not see the room anymore. He did not see the rich people in their expensive clothes. He did not see Vandermeer or the crystal glasses or the chandeliers. He saw music. He felt music. He was music again. In the ballroom, 200 people stood frozen. Mouths hung open. Champagne glasses stopped halfway to lips. Conversations died mid-sentence. Everyone stared at the janitor playing the piano. No one could believe what they were hearing. This was not someone pressing keys randomly. This was not a lucky amateur. This was real music. This was professional music. This was the kind of music you paid $100 to hear at a concert hall, and it was coming from a man in a server uniform with rough hands and tired eyes. Vandermeer's smirk disappeared. His face went from amused to confused to shocked. He sat down slowly in his chair. His mouth opened, but no words came out. All his friends at the table sat silent, staring. Marcus played on. His fingers were stiff from years of hard labor. They did not move as fast as they once did. Sometimes they slipped a little on the keys, but none of that mattered. What mattered was the soul in the music. What mattered was the emotion pouring from his heart through his hands onto those keys. The music told a story. It told the story of dreams. It told the story of loss. It told the story of hope buried deep but never dead. Every person in that room felt it. They felt something crack open in their chests, something they had forgotten, something about being human and vulnerable and alive. Sarah Mitchell stood in the back of the room with tears running down her face. She was the director of the City Conservatory of Music. She had heard hundreds of pianists in her life, students, professionals, masters, but she had rarely heard anything like this. This janitor played with a depth of feeling that could not be taught. It came from living, from suffering, from surviving. She pulled out her phone and started recording. The world needed to hear this. People needed to know that talent existed everywhere. In janitors, in waiters, in the people society ignored and looked through like they were invisible. Near the kitchen door, other hotel workers gathered. Maids and cooks and bellhops. They stood in their uniforms watching Marcus play. Some of them cried. They understood what this moment meant. One of them was being seen. One of them was showing the world that they were more than their jobs, more than their paychecks, more than how society labeled them. Mr. Patterson, Marcus's supervisor, stood among them. He had worked with Marcus for 15 years. 15 years of seeing him clean toilets and empty trash and mop floors without complaint. He had never known. He had never asked. He had never imagined that this quiet man who said yes sir and no sir held this kind of beauty inside him. Tears rolled down Mr. Patterson's weathered face. He felt ashamed. How many times had he barked orders at Marcus? How many times had he treated him like just another worker, just another pair of hands? He had never seen the person. He had never tried to see. Marcus moved into a different section of the piece. His right hand played the melody while his left hand created a rich bed of harmonies underneath. The two hands talked to each other. They danced together. They told each other secrets in a language beyond words. Some people in the audience did not know classical music. They had never been to a concert, but they understood this. Everyone understands beauty when they hear it. Everyone understands truth. And Marcus played both. An elderly woman at one of the tables began to cry softly. Her husband, sitting next to her, reached over and held her hand. They had been married for 47 years. Life had made them tired and routine. They had forgotten why they fell in love. But this music reminded them. It reminded them of the first time they danced together, of promises made under stars, of feelings they thought were gone forever. A young couple on a date sat holding hands, squeezing tighter with each note. The music said things they did not have words for. Things about hope and fear and the bravery it takes to love someone. A businessman who spent his days counting money and making deals felt something shift inside his chest. When was the last time he had felt anything real? When was the last time he had stopped to listen to beauty? When was the last time he had been truly present in a moment instead of thinking about the next deal, the next dollar, the next conquest? Marcus played for 6 minutes, then 7, then 8. He was supposed to play one note for $1,000, but he could not stop. 20 years of silence poured out of him. 20 years of pretending he was not a musician. 20 years of denying who he really was deep inside where no amount of poverty or hardship could reach. His hands hurt. His fingers were not used to this anymore. They were used to gripping mops and pushing brooms, but they stretched across the keys. They found notes they had not touched in 2 decades. And somehow, impossibly, miraculously, they still knew what to do. The music built to its climax. Marcus's whole body swayed with the rhythm. His face showed pain and joy mixed together. This hurt. Remembering hurt. But it also healed something broken inside him. With every note, he took back a piece of himself that poverty had stolen. Then, slowly, the music became softer. Gentler. Like a storm passing. Like morning after a long night. Marcus played the final phrase. The last few notes floated in the air like petals falling from a tree. Then his fingers pressed the final chord. It rang out clear and true and perfect. Then silence. Complete silence. For 3 full seconds, no one in that ballroom moved. No one breathed. They were stunned, shocked. They had just witnessed something impossible. They had seen someone transform right in front of their eyes. From janitor to musician. From invisible to unforgettable. Then someone started clapping. It was Sarah Mitchell in the back. She clapped loudly, tears still on her face. Then the elderly woman joined in. Then her husband. Then the young couple. Then everyone. The entire room erupted in applause. 200 people stood up from their chairs, clapping and cheering and shouting. Marcus opened his eyes slowly. He seemed confused, like he was waking up from a dream. He looked around at all the people standing and clapping. For him, a janitor, a nobody. A man who cleaned their toilets and they never noticed. Tears ran down his face. He had not cried in 10 years. Men like him did not cry. They worked. They survived. They endured. But now he could not stop the tears. They came like a river breaking through a dam. People rushed toward the piano. They wanted to shake his hand. They wanted to tell him how beautiful it was. They wanted to know who he was and where he learned to play like that. They crowded around him, all talking at once. Marcus stood up from the piano bench. His legs shook. He felt dizzy. This was too much. Too many people. Too much attention. He was used to being invisible. This felt like standing naked in front of strangers. Sarah Mitchell pushed through the crowd. She reached Marcus first. "That was extraordinary," she said. "I am Sarah Mitchell. I run the city conservatory. Who taught you to play like that?" Marcus opened his mouth but could not find words. His throat felt tight. I learned when I was young," he finally said. His voice was rough and quiet. "You are not just talented," Sarah said, looking at him intensely. You are exceptional. That kind of playing does not come from nowhere. You must have had serious training. A long time ago, Marcus said. He wanted to leave. He wanted to go back to his cart and his mop and his comfortable invisibility. This was too much light shining on him. He felt exposed. Here, a voice shouted. Everyone turned. Vandermeer stood at his table holding a piece of paper. His face was bright red. He looked angry and embarrassed at the same time. He walked toward Marcus, pushing through the crowd. He threw a check on top of the piano. $1,000, he said. I am a man of my word. Then he turned and walked quickly toward the exit. His friends scrambled to follow him. Everyone could see how humiliated he was. He had tried to embarrass a poor janitor. Instead, the janitor had shown him and everyone else what real class looked like. What real talent looked like. What real dignity looked like. The woman in the red dress, the party organizer, came to the front. She was crying too. Thank you, she said to Marcus. You just proved exactly why we do this charity. You proved that talent exists everywhere, that poor children deserve the chance to learn music, that we never know who might be the next great musician. Marcus picked up the check from the piano. $1,000. His hands trembled as he looked at it. This was 3 months of medicine for his sister. This was food for his mother. This was help with the bills that never stopped coming. But it felt wrong somehow. He had not played for money. He had played because something inside him broke free. He had played because he needed to remember who he was. The money felt like it cheapened what had just happened. I need to get back to work, Marcus said quietly. He folded the check and put it in his pocket. He started to walk toward the exit where the hotel staff stood watching. Wait, Sarah called out. She hurried after him. She pressed a business card into his hand. Please call me tomorrow, we need to talk. You have a gift that the world needs to hear. Marcus looked at the card. It had her name and phone number. He nodded but did not say anything. He walked through the crowd. People patted his shoulder as he passed. They said bravo and amazing and incredible. He nodded and kept walking. He reached the group of hotel workers. They looked at him differently now, like they were seeing him for the first time. Mr. Patterson stepped forward. Marcus, he said. I did not know. In 15 years, I never knew. It is okay, Marcus said. It was a long time ago. From a different life. Take the rest of the night off, Mr. Patterson said. Go home, be with your family. And Marcus, I am sorry. Sorry for not seeing you. Really seeing you. Marcus nodded. He went to the staff room and changed out of the server uniform. He put back on his janitor clothes. They felt more comfortable, more like himself, or like who he had become. He was not sure anymore which version of himself was real. He walked out the back entrance of the hotel into the alley. The cold night air hit his face. His hands still tingled from playing. His heart still raced. What had just happened? Had that been real? He looked up at the sky. Only a few stars were visible through the city lights. He thought about his father. What would he say if he had been there tonight? Would he be proud? Would he be sad that Marcus had given up music for so long? Marcus pulled out his phone. It was an old phone with a cracked screen. He needed to call his mother and tell her he would be late. But before he could dial, the phone buzzed. A text message. It was from a number he did not recognize. The message said, I was at the gala tonight. I recorded your performance. Is it okay if I post it online? People need to hear this. Sarah Mitchell. Marcus stared at the message. Post it online? He had just played one time after 20 years. Did he want the world to see it? Did he want people to know who he was? His thumb hovered over the screen. He thought about all the poor kids like he used to be. Kids with talent but no money. Kids with dreams but no opportunity. Kids who thought they had to choose between music and survival. If they saw his video, maybe it would give them hope. Maybe it would remind them that talent does not disappear. It just waits. He typed back, yes, you can post it. He sent the message and put his phone away. He started walking toward the bus stop. His body felt tired, but his soul felt lighter. Like he had been carrying something heavy for 20 years and finally set it down. At home, his mother and sister were watching television. They looked up when he came in. His mother smiled. You are late tonight, she said. Big party at the hotel? Marcus stood in the doorway looking at them. His mother who had worked so hard. His sister in her wheelchair, always cheerful despite everything. his family who he had sacrificed his dreams for. He did not regret it. He would make the same choice again. Yes, he said, a big party. And something happened. Something strange and wonderful. What happened? His sister asked. She was 32 now, but still had the same bright eyes she had as a child. Marcus pulled out the check and showed them. A rich man bet me $1,000 that I could not play the piano. His mother's hand went to her mouth. His sister's eyes went wide. You played? She whispered. After all these years? I played, Marcus said. Tears filled his eyes again. I played and I remembered everything. I remembered who I used to be. Who I still am, I think, underneath everything else. His sister started crying. I am so sorry, she said. Sorry you had to give it up. Sorry you sold your keyboard for me. Sorry for all of it. Marcus crossed the room and knelt down beside her wheelchair. He took her hands. Do not be sorry. You are my sister. I would do it 1,000 times again. Family comes first, always. His mother joined them. She put her arms around both her children. They stayed like that for a long moment. A small family in a small apartment holding each other. Maybe it is not over, his mother said quietly. Maybe this is not the end of your music. Maybe it is the beginning. Marcus did not say anything. He did not know if that was true. He just knew that tonight he had taken back a piece of himself. Tonight he had stopped being invisible, even if just for a few minutes. Tonight he had remembered that he was more than his circumstances. More than his job. More than what life had made him, and somehow that was enough. Outside across the city, Sarah Mitchell sat at her computer. She had uploaded the video to the internet with a simple caption. Millionaire mocks janitor, challenges him to play piano. Watch what happens next. She pressed the button to post it. Then she went to bed, not knowing that she had just started something that would change everything. Not knowing that by morning the video would have 1 million views. By afternoon, 10 million. By the next day, the whole world would be talking about Marcus Chen, the janitor who played like an angel. But Marcus did not know any of that yet. He sat in his small apartment with his mother and sister drinking tea, feeling something he had not felt in 20 years. He felt like himself again, and for this one night, that was everything. Marcus woke up the next morning to his phone ringing. He opened his eyes and looked at the clock. 6 in the morning. Who would call this early on a Saturday? He picked up his phone. The screen showed 23 missed calls, 15 text messages. That was strange. He answered the phone. Hello? Marcus. Finally. It was Sarah Mitchell. She sounded excited. Have you seen the video? What video? Marcus asked. His brain was still foggy with sleep. The video from last night. I posted it online like you said I could. Marcus, it has 20 million views. 20 million. People all over the world are watching you play. You are famous. Marcus sat up in bed. What? That is not possible. I just played last night. The internet works fast, Sarah said. News websites are calling me. Television shows want to interview you. Marcus, everyone wants to know who you are. This is incredible. Marcus felt his chest get tight. Famous? He did not want to be famous. He just wanted to go to work and take care of his family and live his quiet life. I have to go, he said. I will call you later. He hung up and opened the internet on his phone. He typed his name into the search bar. Pages and pages of results came up. Articles with titles like Janitor Stuns Millionaire with Hidden Talent, and The Piano Player No One Saw Coming, and This Man Will Make You Believe in Dreams Again. Marcus clicked on the video. There he was, sitting at the piano in his server uniform. The camera showed his rough hands on the keys. It showed his face, eyes closed, lost in the music. The sound quality was not perfect, but it was good enough. You could hear every note. You could hear the emotion. Below the video were thousands of comments. People from all over the world writing about how the video made them cry, how it reminded them of their own lost dreams, how it proved that talent could be found anywhere. Some people said he played better than professional concert pianists they had heard. One comment said, "This is what happens when poverty steals someone's future. How many other people out there have gifts the world will never see?" Another said, "That millionaire got exactly what he deserved. Humiliated by someone he thought was beneath him." Another, "I'm a music professor. This janitor has more talent in one finger than most of my students will ever have." Marcus set down his phone. His hands shook. This was too much, too fast. He got out of bed and went to the kitchen. His mother was already awake making breakfast. She looked at him with worried eyes. "People are calling?" she asked. "The video from last night," Marcus said. "Someone posted it online. Millions of people have watched it." His mother sat down at the small kitchen table. "What does this mean?" "I do not know," Marcus said honestly. He sat across from her. "I just wanted to play once. That was all. I did not think about what would happen after." His sister rolled her wheelchair into the kitchen. Her eyes were red. She had been crying. "I watched the video," she said. "Marcus, you were beautiful. I forgot how beautiful your playing was." The phone rang again. Marcus looked at the screen. It was a number he did not recognize. He did not answer. It rang again. Different number. Then again. Then his phone buzzed with more text messages. Then more calls. "Turn it off," his mother said. "Turn off the phone for now." "We need to think." Marcus turned off his phone. But then the landline in the apartment started ringing. They did not give that number to many people. How did strangers get it? His mother unplugged the landline from the wall. They sat in silence eating breakfast. But none of them were hungry. The world outside had suddenly become loud and demanding. It wanted Marcus. It wanted his story. It wanted to know everything about him. "Maybe you should call that woman back," his sister said, the music teacher. She seemed kind. "Maybe she can help you understand what is happening." Marcus nodded. He turned his phone back on. Immediately it buzzed with more messages. He ignored them and called Sarah Mitchell. "Marcus!" She answered right away. "I know this must be overwhelming, but this is good. This is really good. Can we meet today? I think we need to talk about your future." "I have to work," Marcus said. "I have a shift at the hotel." "Marcus," Sarah said gently, "I do not think you understand. Everything changed last night. Your life is not going to be the same." "I do not want my life to change," Marcus said. "I just want to work and take care of my family." "I know," Sarah said, "but the world has seen your gift now. You cannot put that back in the box. Meet me for coffee this afternoon, please. Let me help you figure this out." Marcus agreed. They arranged to meet at a coffee shop near his apartment at 2 o'clock. He hung up and looked at his mother and sister. "I should go to work," he said. "Maybe if I just act normal, everything will go back to normal." His mother touched his hand. "I do not think things go back, Marcus. I think they only move forward. Maybe it is time to let your music live again." Marcus took the bus to the hotel. On the bus, he noticed people looking at their phones. One woman gasped and showed her screen to her friend. "That is the janitor who played piano," she said. Were they watching his video? Did people on the bus recognize him? He got off at his stop and walked quickly into the hotel through the back entrance. He went to the staff room to get his cleaning cart. But when he opened the door, 20 people were inside. Other staff members, and they all started clapping. "There he is," someone shouted. "Our famous piano player." Everyone crowded around Marcus. They hugged him and patted his back and told him they watched the video 10 times. The cooks and the maids and the bellhops and the other janitors. They were all so excited, so proud. One of their own had shown the world something beautiful. Mr. Patterson appeared in the doorway. "Marcus, can you come to my office, please?" Marcus followed his supervisor down the hallway. His heart beat fast. Was he in trouble? Had he done something wrong by playing the piano at the party? But when they got to the office, Mr. Patterson smiled. "Sit down," he said. Marcus sat. "Marcus, I have been thinking all night about how I treated you, about how I never really saw you as a person, just as a worker. I am ashamed of that." "You did nothing wrong," Marcus said. "I did everything wrong," Mr. Patterson said. "But that is not why I called you in here. Marcus, the hotel manager, called me this morning. Reporters are coming here. They want to interview you. They want to take your picture. This hotel is about to get a lot of attention because you work here." "I am sorry," Marcus said. "I did not mean to cause trouble." "You did not cause trouble," Mr. Patterson said. "You did something amazing. But Marcus, I have to ask you something. Do you want to keep cleaning toilets? Is that really what you want to do with your life?" Marcus opened his mouth to say yes, but the word did not come out. Did he want to keep cleaning toilets? He had done it for 15 years because he had to, because his family needed money, because he had no choice. But did he want to? "I do not know," he said quietly. "That woman from the conservatory called the hotel this morning," Mr. Patterson said. "She asked if we could give you time off. She said she wants to offer you something. I think you should listen to her. Marcus nodded slowly. Am I fired? Fired? Mr. Patterson laughed. No, Marcus. You are not fired. You will always have a job here if you want it. But I think maybe you are meant for something else. Something bigger. Marcus left the office feeling confused. He did not start cleaning. Instead, he walked through the hotel in a daze. Everything looked the same but felt different. The marble floors he had mopped 1,000 times. The windows he had washed until they sparkled. The bathrooms he had scrubbed on his hands and knees. Was this really his life? Was this all he was meant to be? He went back outside and walked to the coffee shop where he was supposed to meet Sarah. He was 2 hours early, but he could not stay at the hotel. He needed to think. He ordered a cheap coffee and sat by the window watching people walk by. A teenage boy walked past the window wearing headphones. He was probably listening to music. Did that boy have dreams? Did he want to be a musician or a singer or something else? Would life let him follow those dreams, or would it force him to give them up like Marcus had? An old woman walked slowly with a cane. What had she wanted to be when she was young? What dreams did she have before life got in the way? Everyone had dreams once. Everyone had something they loved. Something that made them feel alive. But life was hard. Life required you to pay rent and buy food and take care of sick family members. Life did not care about your dreams. Life only cared about survival. Sarah Mitchell arrived exactly at 2 o'clock. She sat down across from Marcus with her own coffee. She looked at him with kind eyes.
How are you feeling?
Scared, Marcus admitted. Confused. Like my whole life just broke apart. It did not break apart, Sarah said. It broke open. There is a difference. She pulled out a folder and set it on the table. Marcus, I have been making calls all morning. I want to help you. But first I need to understand your situation. Tell me about your life. Tell me about your family. So Marcus told her. He told her about his mother and his sister, about the bills and the medicine and the rent, about working 2 jobs when his father died, about selling his keyboard, about 20 years of just surviving. He told her everything. Sarah listened without interrupting. When he finished, she nodded. I understand now why you stopped playing. You are a good son and a good brother. You put your family first. That is honorable. It was the only choice, Marcus said. But now you have other choices, Sarah said. She opened the folder. I talked to the board of directors at the conservatory. We want to offer you a full scholarship. You can study music full-time. Get your degree. Train properly. Become the musician you were always meant to be. Marcus felt his throat get tight. I cannot afford to stop working. My family needs me. I know, Sarah said. That is why I called some donors. Very wealthy people who were at the gala last night. They were moved by your story. They want to help. Marcus, they have offered to pay for your family's expenses, your mother's care, your sister's medicine, your rent, everything. For 2 years while you study, Marcus could not breathe. Why would they do that? Because your story touched them, Sarah said. Because they saw something real and beautiful and rare. Because they want to invest in talent. Because they believe in second chances. I am 42 years old, Marcus said. I am not a young student anymore. My hands are stiff. I have not played in 20 years. You played last night, Sarah reminded him. You played like someone who never stopped. Yes, you need training. Yes, you need practice. But Marcus, you have something that cannot be taught. You have soul. You have lived. That comes through in your music. That is what made 200 people stand up and cheer. That is what made 20 million people watch a video of you. Marcus looked down at his rough hands. These hands had cleaned toilets and emptied trash and mopped floors for 15 years. Could these hands really play music again? Could he really go back to being a musician after all this time? I need to talk to my family, he said. Of course, Sarah said. Take your time. Think about it. But Marcus, opportunities like this do not come often. Some people wait their whole lives for a second chance. You have one right now. Do not let fear make you say no. Marcus went home on the bus. He held the folder Sarah had given him. Inside were papers about the scholarship, letters from donors who wanted to help, a schedule of classes he could take, information about degree programs. It all felt like a dream, like something that happened to other people, not to janitors from poor families. At home, his mother and sister were watching television, but they turned it off when he came in. They could see on his face that something important had happened. He sat down and told them everything. About the scholarship, about the donors, about the chance to study music again. When he finished, he waited for them to tell him what to do. But they just looked at each other and then back at him. "What do you want to do?" his sister asked. "I do not know," Marcus said. "Part of me wants to say yes so badly it hurts, but part of me feels guilty, like I would be abandoning you, like I would be selfish." His mother leaned forward. Her eyes were fierce. "Listen to me, Marcus Chen. You gave up your dreams for us. You worked yourself to the bone for us. You sold the thing you loved most for us. We never asked you to do that. You chose it because you love us." "Of course I love you," Marcus said. "Then let us love you back," his mother said. "Let us give you permission to follow your dream. Let us be the ones who sacrifice now. We will be fine. We have always been fine, but you have been dying slowly for 20 years. I watched it happen. I watched the light go out of your eyes. Last night I saw that light come back. Do not let it go out again." Tears ran down Marcus's face. "I am scared. What if I fail? What if I am not good enough?" "You are good enough," his sister said. She rolled her wheelchair closer and took his hands. "You were always good enough. The world just did not give you the chance to show it. Now you have that chance. Take it, please, for us. Let our suffering mean something. Let your sacrifice be worth something." Marcus looked at his family, his mother who had worked so hard, his sister who never complained even though life had been cruel to her. They were giving him permission. They were setting him free. "Okay," he whispered. "I will do it. I will study music again." His mother and sister hugged him. They cried together. Happy tears this time. Tears of hope instead of pain. Outside the window, the sun was setting. A new day was ending. But for Marcus Chen, a new life was just beginning. That night, Marcus called Sarah Mitchell. "I accept the scholarship," he said. "I will study music at the conservatory." Sarah's joy came through the phone. "Marcus, you will not regret this. I promise you. We start Monday. Are you ready?" "No," Marcus said honestly. "But I am doing it anyway." Over the weekend, the video continued to spread. It reached 50 million views, then 75 million, then 100 million. News shows featured the story. Newspapers wrote articles. Radio stations talked about the janitor who showed up a millionaire. People called Marcus a hero, an inspiration, a symbol of hidden talent and lost dreams. But Marcus tried not to pay attention. He packed away his janitor uniform. He bought a cheap notebook to take notes in classes. He dug out his old music books from a box under his bed. They were dusty and worn, but the notes were still there on the pages waiting. On Sunday night, Marcus could not sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow he would walk into a music conservatory. He would sit in classes with students half his age. He would play piano in front of teachers who would judge his every note. He would try to become something he thought he had lost forever. His phone buzzed. A text message from Sarah. "Tomorrow begins your new life. Be brave. The world is waiting to hear what you will become." Marcus closed his eyes. He thought about his father. He thought about Mrs. Rodriguez, who taught him to play when he was 5. He thought about all the years he spent cleaning instead of creating. All the music that had lived inside him with nowhere to go. Tomorrow that changed. Tomorrow the music would have somewhere to go again. Tomorrow Marcus Chen would stop being invisible. He would stop being just a janitor. He would become himself again, fully, completely, without apology. He was terrified, but he was also more alive than he had felt in 20 years. And that had to count for something. That had to be worth the risk. Outside his window, the city hummed with life. Millions of people sleeping and dreaming and hoping for something better. Marcus was one of them now. A dreamer, a hoper, a believer in second chances. And somewhere across the city, in a mansion he would never see, Richard Vandermeer sat alone in his study. He had watched the video 50 times. He saw himself in it smirking and cruel. He saw the moment his face changed from amusement to shock. He saw himself throw money at the janitor and run away like a coward. The internet was not kind to him. People called him names. They called him arrogant and cruel. They said he represented everything wrong with wealthy people. His business partners called asking him to make a public apology. His daughter stopped answering his calls. He had tried to humiliate a poor janitor. Instead, he had humiliated himself. And for the first time in his life, Richard Vandermeer wondered if maybe he was the one who needed to change. If maybe he was the one who had been wrong all along. But that was a thought for another time. For now he just sat in his expensive chair in his expensive house feeling poor in all the ways that mattered. Monday morning arrived too quickly. Marcus stood outside the City Conservatory of Music at 8:30 in the morning. The building was beautiful. Old stone walls covered with ivy, large windows that let in morning light. Students walked past him carrying instrument cases and backpacks. They were so young. Most of them looked like they were 18 or 19 years old. He was 42. Marcus felt like an imposter, like someone pretending to be something they were not. He almost turned around and went home. But then he remembered his mother's words. He remembered his sister's face. He remembered the feeling of playing piano again after 20 years. He took a deep breath and walked through the front doors. Sarah Mitchell was waiting for him in the lobby. She smiled when she saw him. "Marcus, welcome. How are you feeling?" "Nervous," he admitted. "That is good," Sarah said. "Nervous means you care. Come on. Let me show you around before your first class." She took him through the building. Practice rooms lined the hallways. Through the doors, Marcus could hear students playing. Piano, violin, cello, flute. The sounds mixed together like a strange, beautiful soup. They passed a large concert hall with rows of red seats. They saw studios where teachers gave private lessons. Everything smelled like wood polish and old books and possibility. "You will have 4 classes this semester," Sarah explained. "Piano technique with Professor James, music theory with Professor Kim, music history with Professor Rodriguez, and ensemble playing where you will play with other students." "Professor Rodriguez?" Marcus asked. "Like my old teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez?" Sarah smiled. "Actually, yes. That is her. She teaches history here now. When she saw the video of you playing, she called me crying. She said you were her best student ever. She has been hoping to see you again for 20 years. Marcus felt his chest get tight. Mrs. Rodriguez, the woman who had taught him to play when he was 5 years old. The woman who believed in him when no one else did. She was here. She would see what he had become. A janitor who gave up music. A man who wasted his talent for 20 years. "She is not disappointed in you," Sarah said, reading his face. "She is proud. She understands why you stopped playing, and she is thrilled you are starting again." They walked to a classroom where other students were already sitting, about 15 of them. They all turned to look when Marcus walked in. Some of them whispered to each other. They recognized him from the video. He was the famous janitor, the old man who thought he could study music. Marcus sat in the back. He wanted to disappear. But before he could get comfortable, a woman walked into the room. She was in her 70s now with white hair pulled back in a bun, but her eyes were the same, bright and warm and full of passion. "Good morning, class," Mrs. Rodriguez said. Then she saw Marcus. She stopped talking. Her hand went to her mouth. For a moment she just stared at him. Then she crossed the room and stood in front of his desk. "Marcus Chen," she said softly. "My dear boy, you came back to music. I am sorry it took so long," Marcus said. His voice cracked. Mrs. Rodriguez leaned down and hugged him. She smelled like flowers and old paper, just like he remembered. "Never apologize for surviving," she whispered in his ear. "Never apologize for taking care of your family. You did what you had to do. Now you are here. That is all that matters." She straightened up and wiped her eyes. Then she turned to the class. "Students, some of you probably recognize this man. Yes, he is the pianist from the video that everyone is talking about. But more importantly, he is my former student. I taught him when he was 5 years old. And I can tell you, even then I knew he was special." The class stared at Marcus. He felt his face turn red. "Marcus is joining us as a student," Mrs. Rodriguez continued. "He will be learning alongside you. I expect you to treat him with the same respect you show all your classmates. Age does not matter here. Talent does not care how old you are. Now let us begin." The class was about music history. Mrs. Rodriguez talked about Chopin and Beethoven and Mozart. She talked about how they lived and what inspired them, and how their music changed the world. Marcus took notes. His handwriting was messy because he was not used to writing anymore. But he tried to capture every word. During a break, some students came over to talk to him. A young woman with purple hair introduced herself. "I am Amy," she said. "I watched your video like 20 times. You play beautifully." "Thank you," Marcus said. "Can I ask you something?" Amy said. "Were you scared?" When you sat down to play in front of all those people? Terrified, Marcus said honestly. But you did it anyway, Amy said. That is brave. A young man with glasses joined them. I am David, I play piano too. Classical stuff like you? Maybe we could practice together sometime. More students introduced themselves. They were kind. They did not treat him like an old man trying to relive his youth. They treated him like a fellow student, like someone who loved music as much as they did. After music history, Marcus had piano technique class with Professor James. Professor James was a serious man in his 50s with gray hair and stern eyes. He did not smile when Marcus entered the practice room where the class was held. Mr. Chen, he said, I have watched your video. You have raw talent, but you also have 20 years of rust. My job is to strip away that rust and rebuild your technique from the ground up. This will not be easy. It will be painful. You will want to quit. Do you understand? Yes, sir, Marcus said. Good, sit at the piano. Marcus sat. Professor James stood behind him. Play a C major scale. 2 octaves. Right hand. Marcus placed his fingers on the keys. He played the scale. It was simple, something he learned when he was 6 years old, but his fingers stumbled. They were not smooth. The notes came out uneven. Again, Professor James said. Marcus played again. Still not perfect. Again. Marcus played it 10 times. Each time, Professor James pointed out problems. Your thumb is too flat. Your wrist is too stiff. You are hitting the keys instead of pressing them. Again. By the end of the hour, Marcus's hands hurt. They were not used to this kind of precise work anymore. They were used to gripping mops and pushing brooms. But Professor James did not care. You will practice scales 1 hour every day, he said. All major and minor scales, all keys. Until your fingers remember what to do without your brain telling them. Do you have a piano to practice on? No, sir, Marcus said. I will use the practice rooms here. The practice rooms are available from 6 in the morning until midnight, Professor James said. I expect you to use them. Talent is nothing without discipline. Do you understand? Yes, sir, Marcus said. After class, Marcus sat alone in a practice room. His hands shook. That had been humiliating, playing badly in front of a teacher. Being corrected over and over. He was 42 years old and being taught like a child, but that was the truth, was it not? He was starting over. He had to learn again. Pride would not help him. Only practice would. He started playing scales. C major, C minor, D major, D minor, over and over. His fingers stumbled. His wrists ached. But he kept going. Outside the practice room door, students walked past. Some glanced in and saw the famous janitor hunched over a piano, playing scales like a beginner. What did they think of him? Marcus did not let himself care. He focused on the keys, on the notes, on the feeling of his fingers pressing down. This was what he needed to do. This was the price of his second chance. He practiced for 3 hours. When he finally stopped, his hands cramped. His back hurt from sitting. His head throbbed. But he felt something else too. He felt alive, challenged, engaged. He had not felt this way in 20 years. He went home on the bus. His mother and sister asked how his first day was. Hard, he said, but good. That night, Marcus could not sleep. His mind replayed the classes. Mrs. Rodriguez's kind face, Professor James's stern corrections, the young students who treated him like an equal. It was overwhelming, but it was also exactly where he was supposed to be. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm. Marcus woke up at 5 every morning. He took the bus to the conservatory by 6. He practiced scales and exercises until his first class at 9. Then he had classes until afternoon. Then he practiced more until the building closed at midnight. Then he went home and slept for 5 hours. Then he did it all again. His hands hurt constantly. His head hurt from learning music theory. His body hurt from sitting at the piano for so many hours. But slowly, very slowly, things started to improve. His scales became smoother. His technique became cleaner. His understanding of music theory deepened. Professor James remained strict, but Marcus started to see tiny signs of approval. A small nod when Marcus played something correctly. A comment like, better instead of again. These small victories kept Marcus going on the hard days. The hardest part was ensemble class. Marcus had to play with other students. Young, talented students who had been training their whole lives. Students who could read music instantly and play together perfectly. Marcus struggled to keep up. His sight reading was rusty. His timing was off. He made mistakes that made the other students stop and wait for him. One day during rehearsal, a student named Jason sighed loudly when Marcus messed up for the third time. "Can we maybe try this without the old guy?" Jason said to the instructor. "He is slowing us down." The room went silent. Everyone looked at Marcus. His face burned with shame. They played again. Marcus still made mistakes, but he tried harder. He would not let Jason be right. He would not slow everyone down. He would get better, no matter how long it took. After class, Amy walked with Marcus to the practice rooms. "Do not let Jason get to you," she said. "He is just insecure. His parents pay for his tuition and his expensive apartment and his private lessons. You are here on scholarship, working 10 times harder than him, and people actually care about your story. He is jealous." "I do not want special treatment," Marcus said. "I want to be good enough to belong here." "You already belong here," Amy said. "You are a real musician. Jason is just a rich kid playing at being a musician. There is a difference." Marcus thought about that as he practiced that night. What made someone a real musician? Technical skill? Perfect performances? Or was it something deeper? Something about dedication and passion and sacrifice? He did not know, but he knew he would keep trying to find out. Meanwhile, the video continued to spread around the world. Producers from talk shows called Sarah Mitchell, asking if Marcus would appear on television. Music venues invited him to give concerts. Publishers wanted him to write a book about his life. Companies wanted to use his story in commercials. Sarah asked Marcus about each opportunity, but Marcus said no to almost everything. He did not want to be famous. He did not want to be on television. He wanted to study. He wanted to learn. He wanted to become a better musician. "I understand," Sarah said. "But Marcus, you have a platform now. Your story means something to people. You could use it to help others." "How?" Marcus asked. "Teach," Sarah said. "There is a community music center in your old neighborhood. It is struggling financially. They might have to close, but if you taught there, even 1 day a week, it would draw attention. It would bring in donations. You could help kids like you used to be." Marcus thought about it. He remembered learning piano at the community center when he was 5. If that center had not existed, he never would have found music. Mrs. Rodriguez had taught there for free because she believed in giving back. "I will do it," Marcus said. "I will teach on Saturdays." So Marcus added teaching to his schedule. Every Saturday he went to the community center in his old neighborhood. Poor kids came to learn music. Kids whose parents could not afford private lessons. Kids who would never get to study at a fancy conservatory. Kids who needed someone to believe in them. Marcus taught them piano basics. But he also told them his story. He told them about giving up his dreams, about working as a janitor, about getting a second chance. He told them that talent was not enough. That life was hard, but that music was worth fighting for, worth sacrificing for, worth holding on to even when everything else fell apart. The kids loved him. Their parents loved him. The center started getting donations. People who saw the video wanted to support music education for poor children. They wanted to make sure other kids like Marcus did not have to choose between music and survival. News spread about Marcus teaching at the community center. A local newspaper wrote an article. Then a national newspaper picked up the story. The headline read, "From janitor to teacher, piano player gives back to his community." The article included quotes from students Marcus taught. A 10-year-old girl said, "Mr. Chen makes me believe I can be a musician, even though my family is poor." A 13-year-old boy said, "He understands us because he was us. He knows what it is like to have dreams but no money." When Marcus read the article, he cried. Not sad tears, proud tears. He was making a difference. His second chance was not just about him. It was about showing others that second chances were possible. But not everyone was happy about Marcus's success. Richard Vandermeer watched from his mansion as Marcus became more famous. Every article about Marcus mentioned Vandermeer's cruelty at the gala. Every video showed his face when he realized the janitor could actually play. His reputation suffered, his business suffered, his family relationship suffered. His daughter Emily finally agreed to have dinner with him. She was 23 and in law school. She looked at her father with disappointment. "Do you understand what you did?" she asked. "You tried to humiliate a poor man for entertainment. You proved every negative stereotype about wealthy people." "I did not know he could play," Vandermeer said weakly. "That is not the point," Emily said. "You should not have treated him that way even if he could not play. He was a human being doing his job. He deserved respect. But you thought his poverty made him less than you. That is what is wrong with you, Dad. You think money makes you better than other people?" Vandermeer had no response. His daughter was right. He had spent his whole life believing his wealth made him superior. But watching Marcus Chen, a janitor with rough hands and an old uniform, show more grace and dignity than Vandermeer had ever shown, it made him question everything. "I want to apologize to him," Vandermeer said. Emily looked surprised. "Really? Really?" Vandermeer said. "I was wrong. I need to make it right." "Apologizing is a start," Emily said. "But Dad, you need to change. Actually change. Not just say sorry to fix your reputation." Vandermeer nodded. For the first time in his life, he understood that his money could not fix everything. Some things required humility, required growth, required becoming a better person. He contacted Sarah Mitchell and asked for a meeting with Marcus. Sarah was skeptical, but she asked Marcus, "He wants to apologize to you in person. Do you want to meet with him?" Marcus thought about it. Part of him wanted to say no, to let Vandermeer suffer, but another part of him remembered what his mother always said. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. "I will meet with him," Marcus said, "but not alone. You should be there too." They arranged to meet at a coffee shop. Marcus arrived first with Sarah. His heart pounded. He had not seen Vandermeer since that night at the gala, since the night that changed everything. Vandermeer walked in looking smaller than Marcus remembered, less confident, less arrogant. He sat down across from them and looked directly at Marcus. "Thank you for meeting me," Vandermeer said. "I know you did not have to." Marcus said nothing. He waited. "I want to apologize," Vandermeer continued, "for how I treated you that night, for how I have treated service workers my whole life. I was cruel. I was wrong. I thought my wealth made me better than you. But watching your video, watching your grace under my cruelty, I realized you are a better man than I will ever be." "I am not a better man," Marcus said quietly. "I am just a man who loves music, who loves his family, who tries to do the right thing." "That makes you a better man," Vandermeer said. "I want to do more than apologize. I want to make amends. I have started a foundation for music education. $1 million to start. I want to help fund programs like the community center where you teach. I want to help kids like you used to be. Will you help me? Will you advise the foundation on how to spend the money?" Marcus looked at Sarah. She nodded encouragingly. He looked back at Vandermeer. The man seemed genuine, seemed truly sorry, and $1 million could help so many children. "I will help," Marcus said. "But understand something. This is not about you. This is about the kids, about giving them chances they would not otherwise have. If you are doing this just to fix your reputation, I do not want any part of it. I am doing it because I need to change," Vandermeer said. "My daughter is right. I have been a terrible person. Maybe I cannot fix that, but maybe I can stop being terrible going forward." They shook hands. It was awkward, but it was a start. Later, Sarah told Marcus she was proud of him. "You could have refused to meet with him, could have held on to your anger. Anger takes energy," Marcus said. "I need my energy for music, for teaching, for becoming who I am supposed to be." And that was the truth. Marcus did not have time for anger or revenge. He had scales to practice and technique to improve and students to teach. He had a second chance at the life he always wanted. He was not going to waste a single moment of it. 6 months passed. Marcus lived and breathed music. Every morning he woke before dawn. Every night he fell into bed exhausted. His fingers developed new calluses from hours at the piano. His mind expanded with knowledge about harmony and composition and music history. His soul opened up like a flower that had been closed for 20 years. Professor James remained demanding, but Marcus saw more approval now. "Your technique has improved significantly," the professor said one day. "You are no longer fighting the piano. You are working with it." In music theory class, Marcus excelled. His adult brain understood concepts faster than the younger students. He could see patterns and connections they missed. Professor Kim started calling on him to explain difficult ideas to the class. In ensemble class, Marcus no longer slowed everyone down. He kept up, sometimes he even led. Jason, the student who had complained about him, eventually apologized. "You were right to be here," he said. "I was wrong." Mrs. Rodriguez watched Marcus's progress with tears of joy. "I always knew you would come back to music," she told him. "I prayed for it every day for 20 years. But the real transformation happened in Marcus's heart. He stopped feeling like an imposter. He stopped apologizing for taking up space. He began to believe he deserved to be at the conservatory. He began to believe he was a real musician again. Sarah Mitchell called Marcus into her office one day in March. "Sit down," she said. "I have a proposal for you." Marcus sat. His stomach fluttered nervously. Sarah had that look in her eyes. The look that meant something big was coming. "The conservatory hosts a spring recital every year," Sarah said. "Our top students perform for the public. It is a big event. Donors come. Families come. The concert hall is always full. I want you to perform." Marcus's heart stopped. "Perform? In front of hundreds of people?" "Yes," Sarah said. "You are ready." "Your teachers agree. It is time to show the world how far you have come." "But I am not a top student," Marcus said. "I have only been studying for 6 months. The other students have been training for years." "You have been training your whole life," Sarah said. "You just had a long break." "Marcus, you are special. Your story is special. Your music is special. The world needs to hear you play on a real stage. Not in a ballroom at a party. On a concert stage where you belong." Marcus felt panic rising in his chest. "What if I fail? What if I forget the notes? What if everyone sees that I am just a janitor pretending to be a musician?" Sarah leaned forward and took his hands. "Listen to me. You are not pretending. You are a musician. You always were. That night at the gala was not luck. That was who you really are. It is time to stop hiding. Time to stop being afraid. Time to step into your true self." Marcus went home that night and told his mother and sister about the recital. They were thrilled. "Of course you must do it," his mother said. "This is what we sacrificed for. This is what you worked for." "What if I embarrass myself?" Marcus said. His sister rolled her wheelchair closer. "Brother, you have cleaned toilets for 15 years without complaining. You have mopped floors where rich people spilled their drinks without saying a word. You have been invisible and ignored and treated like you did not matter. And through all of it, you kept your dignity. You kept your kindness. You kept your soul. There is nothing you could do on that stage that would embarrass us. We are already proud of you." Marcus hugged his sister and cried. She was right. He had survived so much worse than playing piano in front of people. Stage fright could not hurt him. Bad reviews could not hurt him. He had already lost everything once and climbed back. What was left to fear? He chose his piece carefully. After much thought, he decided to play the same Chopin nocturne he had played at the gala. It felt right. That piece had brought him back to music. That piece had shown the world who he was. It deserved to be played again, played better this time, played the way it was meant to be played. He practiced the nocturne every single day for 2 months. He practiced it slowly, focusing on each note. He practiced it fast, building technique. He practiced it with his eyes closed, letting muscle memory guide him. He practiced until his fingers knew every note without thinking, until the music flowed from his heart directly to the keys without his brain getting in the way. Professor James listened to Marcus play the nocturne 1 week before the recital. When Marcus finished, the professor was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "You are ready, more than ready. You will do beautifully." Coming from Professor James, that was the highest praise possible. Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. The week before the recital, Marcus could barely sleep. His mind raced with worry. What if he froze on stage? What if his hands shook? What if the pressure was too much? He had played once at the gala without thinking, without planning. Pure instinct and emotion. But this was different. This was planned. This was official. This was him declaring to the world, I am a musician. On Saturday, the day of the recital, Marcus taught his usual class at the community center. His students knew about the concert. Will you play for us first? A little girl named Maria asked. She was 7 years old and learning piano. Marcus sat at the old piano in the community center. It was out of tune and missing one key, but it was the piano where he had first learned to play as a child. He played the nocturne for his students. They sat on the floor around him, watching his hands move across the keys. Their eyes were wide with wonder. When he finished, they clapped and cheered. You are going to be amazing tonight, Maria said. I know it. Those words from a 7-year-old girl gave Marcus more confidence than anything else could have. Children were honest. They did not lie to make you feel better. If Maria believed in him, maybe he could believe in himself. That evening, Marcus put on a suit. It was the first suit he had owned in 20 years. Sarah had helped him pick it out. It was simple. Black with a white shirt. He looked in the mirror and barely recognized himself. This was not the janitor in the worn uniform. This was someone new. Someone old. Someone he used to be and was becoming again. His mother and sister were already dressed. The donors had arranged for a car to take them to the concert hall. His mother wore her best dress. His sister wore a new outfit and her hair was done beautifully. They looked proud, nervous, excited. You look handsome, his mother said, adjusting his tie. I am terrified, Marcus admitted. Good, she said. It means this matters to you. They arrived at the conservatory concert hall an hour before the performance. The building buzzed with activity. Students in formal clothes rushed around. Family members found their seats. Donors and supporters milled about in the lobby. Sarah found Marcus backstage. How are you feeling? Like I might throw up, Marcus said honestly. Sarah laughed. That is normal. Every performer feels that way. But listen, tonight is not about being perfect. It is about sharing your gift. About showing people what music can do. What you can do. Just play from your heart like you always do. That is all anyone wants. Marcus peeked through the curtain at the audience. The concert hall was full. Every seat taken. 700 people. He saw his mother and sister in the front row. He saw Mrs. Rodriguez sitting nearby. He saw students from his Saturday classes. He saw hotel workers from the Grand Metropolitan. He saw reporters with cameras. He saw Sarah's family. He saw Professor James and Professor Kim and other teachers from the conservatory. And in the back row, trying to be inconspicuous, he saw Richard Vandermeer. The millionaire had come. Marcus felt a strange emotion. Not anger. Not satisfaction. Something softer. Something like forgiveness mixed with hope. The recital began. Other students performed first. A violinist played Bach. A cellist played Dvorak. A soprano sang an aria from an opera. They were all talented. All polished. All young and confident. The audience clapped enthusiastically after each performance. Then the program director stepped onto the stage. Our final performer tonight has a story that many of you know, she said. 6 months ago, Marcus Chen was working as a janitor when a millionaire challenged him to play piano. That video went viral. Marcus's performance touched millions of people around the world. Tonight he performs for you as a student at this conservatory. Please welcome Marcus Chen. The audience erupted in applause before Marcus even walked on stage. He stood in the wings, his heart hammering. This was it. This was the moment. He closed his eyes and thought of his father. Thought of Mrs. Rodriguez teaching him when he was 5. Thought of 20 years of silent longing. Thought of his mother and sister sacrificing so he could be here. Thought of every person who said he could not do this. Every person who said poverty would win. Every person who thought dreams died when life got hard. He opened his eyes. He walked onto the stage. The applause grew louder. 700 people standing, clapping, cheering. For him. For the janitor who refused to stay invisible. Marcus walked to the piano. It was a beautiful Steinway grand. The same kind of piano he had played at the gala. He adjusted the bench. He looked out at the audience. The lights were bright, but he could still see faces. His mother crying. His sister beaming. Mrs. Rodriguez nodding encouragement. Marcus took a deep breath. He placed his hands on the keys, and he began to play. The first notes of Chopin's Nocturne filled the concert hall, clear and pure and perfect. Marcus stood and bowed. Tears streamed down his face. He was not embarrassed by the tears. He earned these tears. 20 years of tears that he had never let himself cry. 20 years of holding everything inside. Now it poured out, and it was beautiful. Sarah came onto the stage and handed him flowers. Mrs. Rodriguez joined them, hugging Marcus tightly. "My boy," she whispered. "My beautiful, talented boy. You did it." Eventually the applause faded. The audience sat. But the energy in the room had changed. Something sacred had happened. Something beyond just a piano performance. They had witnessed transformation. They had seen a man reclaim his soul. After the recital, people crowded around Marcus. They wanted to shake his hand. They wanted to tell him how his music made them feel. How his story inspired them. How they would never forget this night. A man in his 50s approached Marcus. "I gave up painting 20 years ago to work in accounting," he said. "Watching you play makes me want to paint again. Thank you for showing me it is not too late." A young woman in her 20s said, "I have been working 2 jobs and telling myself I am too poor to go back to school. But if you can do it, maybe I can too." An elderly woman held Marcus's hands. "I am 78 years old. I thought my life was over. But you remind me that there is always time for beauty. Always time for dreams, story after story, person after person, all touched by what they had witnessed." Marcus listened to each one. He understood now. His second chance was not just for him. It was for everyone who had given up. Everyone who thought it was too late. Everyone who needed to see that transformation was possible. His mother and sister waited patiently for the crowd to thin. When they finally reached him, no words were needed. They just held each other. 3 people who had survived poverty and loss and hardship together. 3 people who never gave up on each other. 3 people whose love had brought them to this moment. Richard Vandermeer approached last. He waited until almost everyone had left. He stood in front of Marcus, looking humbled. "That was extraordinary," he said quietly. "I'm glad I was here to see it. To see what you have become." "Thank you for coming," Marcus said, and he meant it. "I have been thinking about what you said," Vandermeer continued, "about the foundation being for the kids, not for me. You were right. I have been meeting with the community center directors, learning about what they need, listening instead of talking for once in my life. I am trying to change. Really change. That is good," Marcus said. "Change is hard, but it is possible. I am proof of that." Vandermeer nodded. "Yes, you are." He shook Marcus's hand and left. Later that night, Marcus sat in his small apartment with his mother and sister. They drank tea and talked about the evening, about the performance, about the people who were touched, about how far they had all come. "What happens now?" his sister asked. "Will you be famous? Will you play concerts all over the world?" Marcus thought about it. "I do not know, maybe. But that is not what matters. What matters is that I found myself again. I found my music. I found my purpose, which is," his mother asked. "Teaching," Marcus said. "Helping kids like I used to be. Showing them that talent exists everywhere. That poverty does not have to win. That dreams can survive even when life tries to kill them." "That is a good purpose," his mother said. "The best purpose," his sister agreed. Marcus went to bed that night feeling complete. He had spent 20 years cut in half. Part of him was the janitor. Part of him was the musician. He had lived as only one part, denying the other existed. But now he was whole. The janitor and the musician were the same person. Both were real. Both were valid. Both were him. In the weeks after the recital, opportunities poured in. Concert halls invited him to perform. Music companies wanted to record him. Universities invited him to give talks about his journey. Television shows wanted interviews. Publishers wanted to write books about him. Marcus said yes to some things and no to others. He said yes to teaching more classes at the community center. He said yes to giving free concerts in poor neighborhoods. He said yes to mentoring young musicians from underprivileged backgrounds. He said yes to anything that aligned with his purpose of helping others. He said no to most commercial opportunities. He said no to fame for fame's sake. He said no to anything that would take him away from his studies or his teaching. He continued studying at the conservatory. He had 2 more years before graduation. He wanted to finish, wanted to earn his degree, wanted to prove to himself and others that age was just a number. That determination mattered more than anything else. The foundation that Vandermeer started grew. Other wealthy donors joined. They raised $5 million in the first year. They funded music programs in 10 cities. They bought instruments for poor schools. They gave scholarships to talented students who could not afford lessons. They made sure that what happened to Marcus, having to choose between music and survival, would happen to fewer children. Marcus served on the foundation's board. He advised on which programs to fund. He helped interview scholarship candidates. He made sure the money went to real need, not just to programs that looked good on paper. 1 year after the gala, a documentary filmmaker released a film about Marcus's journey. It followed him from the viral video through his first year at the conservatory. It showed him teaching at the community center. It interviewed his students and his family. It even included an interview with Richard Vandermeer, talking about how Marcus had changed his perspective on wealth and class and worth. The documentary won awards. It aired on television and streaming services. Millions of people watched it. Marcus's story spread even further, but he tried not to let the attention change him. He stayed focused on what mattered: music, teaching, family, purpose. 2 years after the gala, Marcus graduated from the conservatory. He was 44 years old, one of the oldest graduates in the school's history. He walked across the stage to receive his diploma. His mother and sister cried in the audience. Mrs. Rodriguez cried. Sarah Mitchell cried. Even Professor James, stern and serious, had tears in his eyes. After graduation, Marcus was offered teaching positions at several prestigious music schools. He turned them all down. Instead, he took a job at the community center in his old neighborhood, the same center where he had learned to play as a child. He became the director of the music program. He taught piano 4 days a week. He raised money. He brought in volunteers. He made sure no child was turned away for lack of money. On weekends, he gave recitals, not in fancy concert halls anymore, though he still played those occasionally, but mostly he played in community centers and schools and churches in poor neighborhoods, places where people had never heard live classical music, places where children did not know that someone like them could make beauty with their hands. After each performance, he told his story. He told about being a janitor, about giving up his dreams, about getting a second chance, about learning that it is never too late to become who you are meant to be. And everywhere he went, people listened. They cried. They felt hope stirring in their chests. They thought about their own buried dreams, their own lost passions, their own unlived lives. And they wondered, if Marcus Chen could do it, maybe they could too. 5 years after the gala, Marcus married a woman named Jennifer. She was a music therapist who worked with disabled children. They met at the community center. She understood him, understood his past and his present and his dedication to helping others. She loved him not because he was famous, but because he was kind, because he was real, because he had suffered and survived and come out the other side still believing in beauty. They had a small wedding. Mrs. Rodriguez played piano at the ceremony. Amy, his friend from the conservatory, sang. His students from the community center made the decorations. It was simple and perfect. Just like Marcus liked things, Marcus never became a world-famous concert pianist. He never played at Carnegie Hall or toured Europe or made millions of dollars from his music. But he became something better. He became a teacher who changed lives, a mentor who believed in potential others could not see, a symbol of hope for anyone who thought their dreams were dead. The community center where he taught grew into a thriving arts program, serving 500 children a year. The foundation he helped run expanded to 20 cities. Thousands of kids learned music who never would have had the chance otherwise. Some of them went on to study at conservatories. Some became professional musicians. But most just learned to love music, learned that beauty existed, learned that they were worth investing in. Marcus kept in touch with Richard Vandermeer. The millionaire really did change. He spent less time making money and more time giving it away. He became passionate about education and opportunity. He and Marcus were not exactly friends, but they were something. Two men who had started as enemy and victim, who had both been transformed by a single moment of truth. On the 10th anniversary of the night at the gala, the conservatory held a special concert. Marcus performed again. the same Chopin nocturne, but he also premiered a piece he had composed himself. It was called Second Chances, and it told his story in music. The poverty, the sacrifice, the years of silence, the return, the transformation, the teaching, the hope.